Tracy's leadership has been instrumental in shaping policies that impact everything and everyone from transportation infrastructure to emergency preparedness, housing access, and under her guidance, BizFed has grown into an influential alliance of more than 240 business organizations representing over 420,000 employers and 5 million jobs across Southern California. Her experience brings a rare ability to bridge diverse interests, from small business owners and developers to public safety officials and regional planners, making her uniquely qualified to lead this conversation on the systems and partnerships that must work together to deliver a safe, inclusive, and well-planned future for our region. Please join me in welcoming our fearless advocate and master connector, Tracy Hernandez.
We're getting it. I'm going to put my water down. Well, thanks, everyone. Good to see you all and connect with old friends, meet new friends, and make things happen. I appreciate Kevin. He is stalwart in leading important conversations and being what? What's our 3 words? I always like to remind everyone by design. BizFed Institute is intelligent, thank you. Thank you guys for helping me get it right. Here we go, one more time. We are intelligent, we're inclusive, and impactful. That means all of you. That's the descriptor for you today. My honor to do the speed lightning round final panel of the day. You're going to learn a lot from really talented people. We're focusing on the transportation, housing, and public safety in major venues, which is a critical aspect of your opportunities and our ability to deliver all of these major events. So what I'd like to do is call up our panelists. So Conan Cheung is the Chief Operating Officer of LA Metro. Christopher Jackson is the Assistant City Manager of the mighty city of Inglewood. Inglewood in the house. And Jackie Filla is the President of the Hotel Association of Los Angeles. And then Jason Skeen is our Assistant Sheriff of the LA County Sheriff's Department. Jason, I told you we got a powerhouse. And what I'd like to do is also thank all of our generous sponsors that made today happen. So we have Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation. Roberto, where are you at? He was here just a second ago. All right, Foothill Transit, and then the awesome Port of Long Beach. And then, of course, our chair of the BizFed Institute is Rex Knowles with Verizon. And he has like 13 states in the U.S., and he got held up in the state of Utah today. So he was going to be with us, but he's there today, and I know he's with us in spirit. So let's get going. What I'd like to do, again, you heard me say lightning round. I know it's hard when you're asked to speak, to do anything in lightning round. So pretend like you're doing public testimony, and pretend like the Board of Supervisors or the LA City Council or the Inglewood City Council has said, we have hundreds of people here, and so I'm going to hold you to a minute, right? And then you have to organize your thoughts. We do this all day long as advocates. So I'd like you to each take a minute and tell everyone a bit about you and who you are in your role, because you are really impressive folks. And I didn't want to read your bios. I think I always find it interesting to see what tidbit you want to share with everyone. So let's go right down the line.
All right.
Conan.
Thank you, Tracy. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Conan Cheung, Chief Operations Officer at LA Metro. All right. I've lost a couple seconds there. Conan Cheung, Chief Operations Officer, LA Metro. It's a pleasure to be here. When we talk about LA Metro, we're really talking about the bus system, the rail system, but we're also talking about express lanes, bike share, microtransit, van pool, and so forth. So if you eat, shop, play, work, commute within LA, you're probably working on some of our systems. So obviously for this forum here, we're a big part of transporting the spectators and workforce to the various venues for major special events, whether it's the 2026 FIFA World Cup, 27 Super Bowl, or obviously the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games. And we have started recently with the Club World Cup that's going on right now. The last game is tonight. And we've been working in partnership with Foothill Transit to provide that service.
Christopher.
Chris Jackson, Assistant City Manager and also still Development Services Director for the City of Inglewood. 17 years with the City of Inglewood. Started out in planning. My background and undergraduate degree is in planning from Cal Poly Pomona. I got a Cal Poly alum over there somewhere. And so my role has changed. Initially overseeing the Development Services Department, which included planning, building, code enforcement, as well as working on all the major initiatives that were happening within the city and impacted by the city. Really just kind of transforming where we're going as a city and creating connective tissues with all of the entities that are around us. So appreciate the opportunity.
Jason. Now, you have to include in your 1 minute that you led an important 50-year memorial relay, so include that.
There you go. My name is Jason Skeen. I'm the Assistant Sheriff over our countywide operations. I have a little more than 30 years with the Sheriff's Department. I joined when I was a teenager, 19. I thought it was going to be a college job, and here I am. So I kind of failed a few degrees later. So in part of my day-to-day responsibilities is I oversee all of our court systems, all of our detective division, our special operations division, which includes our SWAT team, our aero fleet, our emergency operations bureau. But then I also oversee all of our countywide services, which is all of our county buildings, all of our parks, some of our special deployments with our homeless outreach and things of that nature. So it kind of covers a plethora of different things. Everything that's not custody or direct patrol related, I oversee for the most part. While I was the chief of staff to the department, I was tasked with overseeing the future planning for LA 28, the World Cup, the Super Bowl, the NBA All-Star experience. It's all kind of comes into play. So it's been an interesting pathway going forward, and I'm really honored just to be here with you today.
Jackie.
Well, now I feel like an underachiever. Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie Filla. I'm the president and CEO of the Hotel Association of Los Angeles. We represent hotels throughout Los Angeles County, from the large branded to the small mom and pop. The tourism industry is one of the largest and most important industries in Los Angeles. We employ about 540,000 people in good paying jobs. We are one of the largest taxpayers in the city and the county as well. Just talking about bed tax in the city of Los Angeles, we pay about $300 million annually in that. And for businesses who are not in hotels, we'd love for you to be in them. For every dollar a person coming to visit Los Angeles spends on a hotel reservation, they spend another $2.20 in a surrounding business that is not within the hotel. When it comes to events, you can't actually be awarded a major event like a Super Bowl, the World Cup, the Olympics without what's called a room block agreement, a commitment by the industry to house the people that are going to be coming here. All of the people who are coming as guests, all of the people who are coming as related staff, and particularly for things like the Olympics, we'll be bringing in lots of folks in public safety, lots of transit folks, and we'll be housing them too. So happy to and excited to contribute to this conversation today.
And Miss Underachiever also is a doctor. I should have introduced her as Dr. Jackie Filla. So.
Not like the surgery kind, so not the useful one.
All right, let's jump into it. So a little different than the last panel is I'm just going to ask you each specific questions. We won't do one question, everyone answer, so you don't know where it's coming next, and you're just going to be ready, all right? And we're going to have some fun, and then we'll leave it open. We'll get a few questions in, and we'll end on time. Okay, Conan, I'm going to start at Metro because the title of this is transportation. So here we go. How is LA Metro preparing to manage the expected surge in ridership during World Cup, Super Bowl, Olympics, and what infrastructure or services can riders expect by then?
Thank you. Great question. And in fact, I'll start with the infrastructure. I'm sure all of you have seen that we opened up our LAX Metro Transit Center on June 6th, a couple weeks ago. It's an amazing event. It's a game changer connecting LAWA LAX to our major transit hub and the K line, the Crenshaw line, as well as the C line and the Expo line, the E line. I'm still getting used to the letters, you know. But I mean, basically, that's really one of the starts of what we're building out for the future going up to 2028. We have the A line extending out to Pomona coming up. That's going to be serving some of the major venues out there now that we know that the venues have changed. And we are obviously extending our subway system, the B and the D line especially out to Westwood and beyond to the VA hospital. So a lot going on as it relates to infrastructure development and building. We're also doing smaller things in terms of trying to improve the speed and reliability of our light rail system as well as our buses. So we're continuing to work on bus lanes, working with the cities and local jurisdictions on signal priority and so forth, and some special track work. Not to get too technical, but that allows us more flexibility in terms of operations. As far as service is concerned, just to put it into context, last September we finally got back to over 1 million boardings a year, which is where we were prior to the pandemic. So we were actually at 1.2 million boardings a year. We have about 2,100 buses in our fleet. The municipal operators, the 17 major ones, including Foothill Transit, also have a significant fleet when you put it all together. When we look at the Olympics and the Paralympics, we're expecting to carry about 1.2 million people a day. So it's basically doubling our ridership. Obviously, we don't have the capacity on our existing system to provide that service, and we're not connecting to all of the different sites. So we do have to come up with what we call a Games Enhanced Transit System, a GET system. And it's going to be a system of dedicated routes that take you from temporary park and ride lots to the venues, or to our major transfer hubs, or to from other mobility hubs to those locations. We're looking at needing about 2,700 buses. So again, we're doubling the fleet, or more than doubling the fleet. We can't do that alone. So we're going out throughout the country, borrowing, stealing buses from people. So we've gone out and we've talked to a lot of the major transit agencies out there. We have an informal commitment for about 650 buses or so. We're starting our own contingency fleet, so as we get new buses in, we're going to keep our old ones that are still good, put those into a contingency, so hopefully we'll be able to build up to that number. But there are an awful lot of partnerships that we're trying to forge throughout the country to get these buses, get the staffing that we need to be able to operate them, maintain them, supervise the employees and so forth. So we're basically creating a brand new system for the games, the Olympic Games and the Paralympics. With respect to the World Cup, it's going to be also a heavy lift, but not as much so. We're looking at about 330 buses for that system. And just to put it into perspective, last time when we served Super Bowl 56, we carried about 5,000 to 6,000 people to SoFi Stadium. We're expecting to carry about 30,000 for the FIFA World Cup games. So it's about 6 times as much. So that's why we need additional buses and operators to be able to provide that service.
Excellent, Conan. Now you took 3 minutes of your time, so you did 3 questions in my one. But I have a follow-up, because obviously it's no small task to ready for double the ridership and double the bus purchase. But out of everything you said, I really want to know, why did we change from color lines to letter lines?
That is a very good question. I don't have a good answer to it. I'm not in the customer experience department. But that does speak to the green
line, the gold line, all that. Now we have to figure out if it's the A or B.
But that does speak to lessons learned, and when we start talking about all these special events and people coming from around the world, we need to make sure that our nomenclature, our signage and wayfinding is consistent and it's readable and understandable by all people who are coming here.
So letters are more understandable than colors?
Yeah, that's my answer.
All right, we're going to go with that. All right, Jackie, you're up next. Obviously, so important on the hotel industry. Thanks for saying yes, because you got your hands full on every front. And you saw right from the get-go when Bill gave the poll, there was a lot of comment and concern around capacity and guest management and ability. So how is the hotel industry preparing for the influx of visitors, of course, during all these events? And for you, what challenge is top of mind? Your list is probably 25 long, but if you could go to the top 1 or 2 issues.
Sure. So from a guest management perspective, I would say this is what hotels do. We're like, the saying, like, this is our Super Bowl. Like, every day is their Super Bowl. Like, they have a global workforce that welcomes a global series of guests who are here from business, leisure, or group events. So that side of it, we're not so worried about. Quite frankly, what ends up being top of mind is going to be that availability and that stock. And it is the regulatory environment that hotels are finding themselves in. One of the, I think, big mischaracterizations about where money is to be made in the Olympics is that hotels are going to charge a fortune and make a fortune. And of all the business opportunities out there, for most hotels, that's simply not true. As I mentioned, part of the agreements to host these events requires what's called a room block, which requires hotels to commit usually 75% of their rooms years in advance to be available, that are well located, that have very, very, very strict price prescriptions to host all of these folks coming in, so that we have a place to put them and it's a place that people can afford. Some of these regulatory changes have now put a lot of hotels upside down in these contracts, and so that is our big worry. Is we've got these agreements that we want to work, and now we've got to figure out how to rework and make them work. They want to hang on to these global workforces, and tourism is really in a tough spot in Los Angeles right now. So there's that, and then there's the other piece of it that LA as a county is really under-hoteled. And we want to see more partnerships with our governments that actually help us build up that stock. And right now, the regulatory environment also makes that pretty difficult. So we are looking to partner more, get government more engaged, and sort of helping to grow that tourism industry, because really everybody benefits. And it's going to be really important to the city that we rebound that tourism industry, because we are the largest unrestricted taxpayer in the city, and without that, it's going to be harder to have more money for transit. It's going to be harder to have more money for public safety. So we're really looking at sort of building up that industry now that has suffered just waves of things, from fires to tariffs to raids and unrest, to looking forward to hosting these events.
Jackie, what does it mean that you're the largest unrestricted taxpayer in the county?
Yeah, so no, we are.
People catch my attention on things. I actually listen to what they say.
Well, so hotels generate a bevy of taxes, but one of the things that's unique to hotels is TOT, which you've probably all heard if you pay attention to budgets. Like, TOT is yes, you're shaking your head, but not a lot of people actually know what that stands for or where it comes from. TOT is the tourism occupancy tax, which is generated by folks who come to Los Angeles. It's like the best tax ever, because they come here, they give us their tax money. For the most part, they use almost no city services except for Metro. We encourage them to do that. We discourage them from needing your help. We like you, but we don't want that to be a service our guests have. And then they leave. And so everybody who comes into hotels generates that tax. And a lot of the taxes and money that the city and the county get are really formulaic, meaning that they have to go to specific purposes. TOT does not. And so the more TOT that is generated, it gives the city more options to fill budget shortfalls when they have them, but also to pump up public resources that they think needs that additional money. So it's a great question. Thanks for asking. I know taxes aren't sexy, but TOT is a good one.
I will not editorialize on somewhere I was going to go, because I'm going to go to Jason. So you're in the queue. Paul Krikorian earlier told us that these events the Olympics and Paralympics will be the largest civic gathering in history in the world. Did you all hear him say that? Did I get that right? Okay. So, how are you and the Sheriff's Department engaging with local businesses to ensure they're all informed, prepared for potential disruptions, and of course, safety protocols? Give it to us, Jason.
Yeah, thank you. See, our partners at Inglewood, they already understand having the large venue with the Intuit Stadium as well as SoFi. And we already have a great partnership in many of these fascinating cities. As we well know, this is the largest county in the country. We're the largest sheriff's department in the country. And so we have a history of collaboration. It is important. Hence, I'm here, 3 years out, those types of things. Some of the things that we're directly doing, we're working with LA28 to make sure that the information is consistent that's going out, because as we all know, when we look at the advantages that Paris had, they had 2 national police forces. That was it. I had 1 person making decision for 2 national police forces. 88 cities in LA County, more than 40 individual police chiefs that run those. We have more than 40 of the contract cities. We serve about 3 million people, 1/3 of the population, almost 2/3 geographically. When you think about those kinds of challenges, let's just take some of the recent protests and all the organizations at the federal, state, and even the local levels. And that communication is extremely important, and messaging. And then you throw LA28, that component of it. They are developing an app that will be available, 1 for the citizens, but 2 for the businesses as well too. They actually have a community engagement team that will be partnered with law enforcement, but also with the development of LA28, and they will be launching that probably later this year in terms of some of that communication that will allow you. Internally within the Sheriff's Department, I have Commander Brian Aguilera that's also here. Brian was with me in Paris. We sent a security team of deputies, and including some of our advanced technical teams, like arson explosive details and things like that, just to get that experience. But also I went on the collaboration team so that I could understand how they managed that programming and how they communicated with the public, because their elected officials did, in fact, have some challenges in those coming weeks before, when people started to realize, hey, my street's going to be closed. What's that impact me? We want to be able to clearly communicate with people, and we look at like SoFi. We know within particular zones, businesses will be enveloped within those zones where there'll be no vehicles, right? What does that mean for those businesses if people can't park in their parking lots? So it's going to be that early communication that will help those businesses begin to pre-plan, and how we will work together to make sure that they can stay open, but at the same time fall within the security protocols that are going to be established.
I don't want your job.
I'm starting to wonder if I don't want my job either.
Well, thank you for your service. I'm glad you're there. How about cybersecurity? I didn't hear you get into that, and I know that's
massive. It was very interesting. We probably will have more than 30 different command centers, and part of it will be looking at cyber. We looked at the cyber threats that were hitting just between things like London, Rio, Paris. You take in the IBC, which some of you are probably familiar with, which is International Broadcasting Center. Nothing happens without the IBC, that will also be located in Inglewood. Just the IBC alone dealt with 1 million cyber attacks a day. You could literally sit in their command center and just watch them, and then they were getting rated on their threat levels. All it takes is for one of those threats to get through, and you shut down the games. You shut down the games, you shut down everything, right? It just doesn't happen. So that's how important those command centers are. We have teams that we partner with already, whether it's Cisco, Microsoft, even for our own systems in place. Imagine the 911 system goes down, right? It's those challenges, and we have those challenges. We have those tabletop exercises quite regularly. We have one scheduled already for next week about consequence management. And some of those do fall into those cyber threats. I'll tell you, our private industry does an amazing job, but at the same time, we're all vulnerable, and we have to recognize those things too.
Okay, Chris, we're going over to you. Supervisor Holly Mitchell earlier, I thought, aptly described a scenario for which you're involved in called a family reunion picnic. And all parts of the family come together, they bring their different salads, they compete, they have the burgers, they're getting along, and then they fight, and then they hold it together because they're in the family. So with Inglewood hosting, with obviously I have all the awesome venues that I go to all the time. I give Inglewood all kinds of money because I love SoFi and Intuit,
Thank you very much. I appreciate
it. Clippers games, you got it all going over there. But with all the investments and the readiness that you have, and also we heard that like just FIFA, you have all 7 games. 8 games. So 8 games of FIFA at Inglewood, and you've competed hard to get all of those to come there. So, talk to us about how do you ensure a seamless experience for all of that?
Yeah, and I think one of the great things that's happened in Inglewood is our history in Inglewood. As many of you know, we had our Hollywood Park racetrack for many, many years. We obviously had what was the historic Forum, where you had the Showtime Lakers and whatnot that went on there. And those kind of set the standard for how you engage visitors that come into the area. And I believe we built upon top of that. One of, I think, the major advantages we have as a city is your friend, Mayor James T. Butts, who is a visionary in his own presentation and what he's been able to do over the years, and really in galvanizing all the leadership team to kind of work together. You talked about communication being such a key element in making sure that we're not bumping into each other. I call it the Keystone Cops. Remember those? They just run into each other, right? And a lot of folks look at municipalities and counties and governmental entities as Keystone Cops. And we've changed that because we've created a collaborative environment where we've been able to really work together with each other, understanding that we all mutually benefit from it. And with that, having leadership that is focused, leadership that is consistent, and leadership that demonstrates the ability to be able to see far away, to have vision. And so one of the things that we have done is in our city is we have been preparing ourselves to do a number of things to make sure that the engagement is really good. The good thing we have is we have kind of like a build-up. So we have the NBA All-Star Game next year. Then we have a FIFA World Cup. Then we have the Olympics in 27, Olympics Super Bowl 61 in 27, and then the Olympics. So we get to ramp up, if you will, to that experience. Nothing is obviously going to totally prepare you for the Olympics and what that means, but we've been working on this for years now. So it's not anything that's happening in a vacuum. So we're looking at messaging. We're working with our partners, both in LA. Mayor Bass has a great relationship with the mayor as well of Inglewood. And so we're trying to get everybody together to make sure that there is some consistent theming and presentation that goes on across the network. So we're excited about what's happening.
You mentioned Mayor Bass, Los Angeles, of course, Mayor Butts, Inglewood. How about Mayor Richardson, Long Beach?
Oh yeah, that's my fraternity brother, so I love him. Got a few fraternity brothers out there and stuff. So yeah, he's really excited. Rex is doing a fantastic job. Obviously, when Santa Monica turned down the ability to do volleyball, they moved it over to Long Beach, and Rex just stepped right up in there. He's also working collaboratively across the aisle to make sure that there's a seamless experience. And I think that's part of the key. When you have the politicians, the electeds who are at the top level, who are able to communicate with each other, understand the dynamics that go on in there and appreciate each other and share, talked about with the sheriff and all of the entities, our Chief Fronterata for the city of Inglewood, working alongside with the sheriff and our other partners in other neighboring cities. We've already kind of created that collaborative environment. So we're, again, excited about the opportunity to kind of move ahead.
Aces. All right, what we're going to do is give you more time for Q&A on this panel. So we're really going live. I told them to be ready to wing it. Now we're going to really do it because we're going to go to you guys. So if we can get the microphones up. I see Ruth Drizendos has her hand up first. And then I see Brenda Trainer. So we're going to go Ruth and Brenda when we have help with the mics. I know I called an audible, and now I'm going to be in trouble because I went outside of the game plan. But let's open it up for Q&A. We'll spend the rest. We only have 10 more minutes together, so let's spend that time. You guys are good with that, right? Okay. All right. Let's do it. Okay, Ruth, then Brenda, and then whoever's next. We'll go from there.
Hey, Ruth Drizendos with Drizendos Corporate Communications. This would have been a question for the last panel as well. A couple of things have happened since planning started and since the spreadsheets have come out. One, of course, is the state of our international situation, where Los Angeles is certainly a city that is on the list. And then secondly, in terms of people feeling safe to come out to the games, to work at the games, and to participate at the games. So I'm wondering what each area has done, and I know my friend Bill Scott is probably working with you now. So in terms of each area of what we're doing, how that's impacted and what we're doing, because certainly it's not business as usual.
I guess I'll start because you kind of called me out. Yeah, we just sworn in Chief Scott 2 days ago, so he's still coming into work, which is great for us, and he's very excited. But as it relates to safety security on the metro system, we're taking a multi-pronged approach. Number one, we do deploy a lot of different staff, but we try to do it in a multi-pronged care-based way. So we do have law enforcement, we have security, transit security, contract security out there to enforce the laws, enforce code of conduct and whatnot. But we also have homeless outreach teams that go out there, mental health professionals to go and provide support and assistance for people who need it out there. And then we have a very large ambassador program, which has been very successful, that we deployed over the last couple of years. And they're really out there, number one, to help people explain how to navigate the system, answer questions, but also to be eyes and ears out there on the system. And they're able to see if there are any safety concerns, any cleanliness, maintenance concerns, report them right away so that we can work on that. We couple that, or we pair that with station design interventions. And so we've gone through some of our major stations, Westlake MacArthur Park, always a challenging station. We've gone through and looked top to bottom. What can we do to disincentivize negative behavior, not making an opportunity? So we want to make sure that the stations are available and open for the public who want to use it for transportation, but not a place for people to do drugs, to hang out and loiter, to defecate and all of that stuff. So I won't take too long on that, but we do an awful lot of station intervention, whether it's the lighting, it's closing off, kind of hiding areas. We're putting up taller fare gates. We're starting to roll that out to all of our stations. I even piped in classical music on the loop, which is nice for people who are there for a couple minutes to wait for the train. But if you're listening to the same, whatever symphony or whatever it is over and over and over, it's going to drive you crazy. So, we're just trying a lot of different things to just disincentivize bad behavior and coupling that with our deployment.
Yeah, kind of subliminal messages. Be calm behind Bach and Beethoven. That's really good. I think you kind of hit on all the areas. It really is communication. It is really the messaging that goes out to say that we are there as a city to support how you feel, how you traverse in whatever neighborhood you're going to be traversing in, and then having a presence there. We've been talking about some ambassadors that are going to be out, maybe clothed in a certain way to give people a feel as they begin to go through our city in particular, that there's eyes on the street, that they feel comfortable. Not only police, because I think sometimes police can send two different messages. It could be you can feel like you're unsafe because there's so many police. And I remember right after 911 when I got out to New York, and I mean there were there was literally police there with, machine level guns, and you felt like you were looking around. So trying to create an environment where people feel comfortable, where at the same time you're not feeling militarized in the environment. I'm hoping to that particular question that things will calm down as we get closer to the games. We're in unprecedented times right now. And it's resetting a lot of ways that we're interacting with each other, and what that's gonna look like long term, because we're in 25, so you're talking about 28, and some interesting things happen in the next several years that's gonna really tell us what trajectory we're gonna be in as a community and how we engage the world. So,
yeah, I got lucky. Some of you may not know, with LA 28 and the IOC, one of the first things they did was actually prop up security on the public safety side. So some of you are in the room are probably familiar with an NSSE. An NSSE is a national special security event that are typically only done for inaugurations, Olympics, major world events within our country. And once that is signed by the president and that authorization, which our Olympics was the earliest NSE that's ever been designated in the history of NSSEs, it brings forth the organization and the resources of the federal government into the local community in terms of that. So we stood up our NSSE, which included the FBI, FEMA, Secret Service, LASD, the Sheriff's Department, LAPD, and the CHP, along with our partners at the other major municipalities like Inglewood and Long Beach. And what we're doing is we bring in these protocols, and there's actually more than 23 various subcommittees that are doing things to make sure that transportation is safe, that housing's safe, that we also look at things like I said, consequence management. So we run scenarios through things like intelligence. Our intel unit, both here at the local level, is actually relatively robust and strong. We get intel briefings relatively routinely. I've had two in the last 24 hours just on world events that are affecting us here at the local level. And part of that is making sure that we understand what could happen before it happens. That was extremely successful in Paris. They dealt with various security threats, whether it was cyber or actual physical and terrorist type attacks, in terms of thwarting those events before they occurred. So intelligence is critical to our success. So really we play through various scenarios, and we're scalable within our organizations, and we actually work quite well at the localized level. You're seeing things at the federal and kind of the whole National Guard level. Believe it or not, we have relationships there too. It's just obviously making sure that that communication is working to the best of we can for the both the community and the business community as well too.
I'll just add two quick things. I think to your point, your communications point, LA has a geography problem. We had that problem with the fires, right? The headline that went around the world was City of Ashes, or City of Angels reduced to City of Ashes. And so Patty left, but LA Tourism has made unprecedented investment in advertising Los Angeles. And one of the things we'll always say, it's really important that you guys post, that you guys invite people to come, that our electeds do so. Everybody does so, because the things that are occurring that make news are almost always not positive. And are almost never widespread throughout the city and throughout the county. So that's our challenge. We're meeting that with resources. I would say one of the things that at least the hospitality industry has been pretty proactive with is meeting with the sheriff, meeting with the new police chief for Los Angeles, and really talking through. There are about 7 points of entry that are the largest points of entry for people coming into the Los Angeles area. And yes, lots of them are on their way to Inglewood. And sometimes they don't even know they've made the transition from Los Angeles to Inglewood. And so we've talked to them about really innovative and sort of different approaches to public safety presence in those particular areas, because we know that when people arrive in Los Angeles and they feel safe, they go do more things. They go to your businesses, they spend more money, they have a better impression. And on our little sheet of questions, that was going to be one of the things that we actually hope is permanent, is the opportunity to build those infrastructures in those common ports of entry into Los Angeles through trial and error with these events that we hope would be permanent, as those will be important tourism investments and investments just in the Los Angeles region in general.
Excellent. We're going to handle 2 last questions. And so go ahead and let's have 2 people answer Brenda's question, then we'll get 1 more question and 2 others, and that'll give us our time to wrap up. Brenda,
thanks very much.
Yourself,
yes,
course.
I'm Brenda Trainer. I'm here representing Medea Tech Launch, which is an educational organization in the San Gabriel foothills that concentrates on essentially the area of the 210 and 605 to encourage entrepreneurship in technology companies. Therefore, you can tell my interest is very much in the smaller cities. And there are 2 elephants dancing in the room. It's the city and the county. And yet there are 88 other little people dancing around, not necessarily little, they're medium ones. Okay, I'll give you Long Beach and Pasadena, and I'll give you Inglewood. But there are then all these 85 other dancing little people running around. And I haven't heard, with the exception of Sheriff Skeen, talk about how to coordinate with those other 80-some odd entities and organizations, and how we're building them in, how we're pulling in hotel services in the other cities. And obviously Metro works all the time with so many of the other cities. You know, we will learn not to say Gold Line at some point in time. And tomorrow I'm going to test you, because I'm going to go from Monrovia to Long Beach on 1 train on the Blue Line. So we're good to go. But do tell me, how are you addressing pulling in not only the elected officials, but the professional staffs of all of these other cities to coordinate these initiatives?
Yeah, that's a great question. And from a transportation perspective, you're absolutely right. You know, Metro is one of the operators within the region, but there's 17 other major municipal operators. We also fund transportation improvements for all the 88 cities in the county. So, you know, as the money comes in from the sales tax measures, it comes out from us to those various jurisdictions, and then especially with the 17 major municipal operators. As it relates to transportation and coordination, we are coordinating with them. You know, when I talked about the Games Enhanced Transit System, it's really building in their system as well, bringing them into providing some of that service as well before we get into looking at borrowing other buses from other cities and whatnot, and staffing. As it relates to just bringing professionals from the various departments through for the games, the 2028 games, we are hosting regional convening meetings where we're bringing in the local jurisdictions, different parts of their government. We're bringing in the port districts, the airport, tourism, hotel, obviously security and whatnot. So we're trying to be a regional convener to be able to bring everyone together in one space to talk about everything that goes on relative to the Olympics and Paralympics planning.
Yeah, just recently, we met at SoFi. We had a number of interested parties from all over our sub-region, the South Bay sub-region, and some of the outside areas from the South Bay, where we just sat in at SoFi and talked to each other, talked about what our concerns are, talked about what our issues are, talked about the ways we want to be able to benefit from the activities that we're going to be coming to bear. Not only the short-term activities, everybody's obviously talking about the Olympics, but we were talking about things that are going to happen beyond that, right? I think one of the things that, I mean, we get hyped up over these particular events, and they provide, you know, a great talking points, but at the end of the day, things keep going, and what are we going to do? And I love what you said on the hospitality side. How are we going to take these events and use them as things that are sustainable long term, right? And so I think part of the response to the question is really intentionality, being intentional about the dialogue that needs to occur, because even across the 88 cities, there's commonality, right? There's the things that we all are concerned about. Our mayor always talks about cutting trees, making sure streets are safe, making sure we have safety issues, transportation issues are resolved. Our mayor sits on the LA Metro board and he chaired it for a number of years, where he was kind of imparting some of his vision and some of the things that happen across the region. So I think it is just more of those things. And I think she said something that was very important with regard to, there you are. You moved over there and then you went over there. I was like, where? What? She left. She asked a question and left. So there you are. I know the electeds, you look beyond the electeds, but the electeds set the tone for what we as staff do, right? Without their thumbs up, we don't cross the borders, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that the visions are aligned no matter who's in office, right? That we all are on the same page about that. And I know I've had some pretty intimate conversations with Mayor Bass, obviously with Mayor Butts, about what their visions are. They're going to outlive them, right? And so this is where staff stabilizes itself, because we're in this thing for the long haul. 17 years at the city of Inglewood, I'll probably retire out with 20 or 25 years. So while I've had mayors come and mayors go, and councilmen come and council members come and go, we've been fairly consistent from a staff standpoint. So I think that's what it is. And really at the highest level of leadership, your city manager, your assistant city managers, your directors being on one accord with each other. I think that's one of the things we've been able to do with the city of Inglewood, and we try and share that with our partners.
Okay, Jackie's going to sneak in on this answer for Brenda. Then we're going to do
I
one last
know.
question,
I'm
and the
breaking the
sheriff's going to
rules.
get the one answer, because then we got to wrap. Go
But
ahead.
I'll just say, when you look at new hotel development, smaller cities outside of the city of Los Angeles have been outpacing. So Burbank built more hotels last year than the city of Los Angeles. So those things are occurring. I would also say, because this is the business group, when you think about these events, so cities are major procurers, but so are hotels. And a lot of hotels are going to have to provide services that they don't typically do. Hotels that don't provide meals are going to have to provide meals. They're going to hire florists. They're going to do all of these things in the hotels. And so I would say there's going to be a lot of those opportunities, and you don't have to be located in the city. And, you know, one of the places that I think is primed, and for some of the biggest hotel expansion is going to be Inglewood. So thinking about where hospitality and tourism is expanding, a lot of that is going outside of the city limit. And so I would urge you to take advantage of those opportunities. And also, you don't have to be located next to a hotel to serve a hotel if you're a business. So I would just make that pitch as you're thinking about services you can give governments. The people hosting them are also going to need a lot of stuff and a lot of vendors.
Great. All right, sir, you get the last question.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Greg Doolin, and I'm a second-generation restaurant owner. I own Doolin's Soul Food Restaurant and Catering Company, and I'm proud to say this is our 50th year in business. We started in 1975, and so I got a couple of questions real quick. I was recently at an event where the mayor spoke, and she said that the 2028 Olympics are going to be the carless Olympics. And when she said that, everybody looked at each other and said, what? And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that plan may look like, if you have an idea of what that's all about, because I can't envision Los Angeles being carless, and that's one thing. And then lastly, I'm just going to sneak this in, if you can just touch on how the homeless issue will be dealt with during that time when we have all these visitors and all these eyes and cameras from around the world looking at our beautiful city. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick and maybe turn over to Jason. Yeah, as far as carless, I think we're going to transit first. We'll call it that. A lot of that has to do with the security perimeter, right? The security perimeter, because it's an NSSE event, is going to be basically around the entire every single one of those event venues. And so you're not able to get in to be able to park close to it. And that's why we're creating this GET system, this Games Enhanced Transit system. And the premise of that is really saying that, we know that people are probably going to drive. They may take Uber, Lyft, whatnot, and hopefully, our transit system, or no, they will take our transit system to these major transfer points, and then we will shuttle them over, much like we do with the SoFi Stadium Express and the Dodger Stadium Express and so forth. This is just going to be on a much, much grander scale. So that's what we're planning right now, is to provide those kind of shuttle services, point to point, from various park and ride locations, mobility hubs, major transfer centers, directly to the various venues. But the issue is that it's not just one game in one location every day. It's multiple games in multiple locations at multiple events during the day at the same venue. So now you're dealing with ingress and egress at the same time. And when you have overlap in those types of events, now you have to double up on the number of parking spaces you need because people didn't leave before the new people came. And then likewise, you need more buses as well. So we're working with LA28 to try to space out as much as possible that schedule so that we can reduce some of that overlap and duplication. And I'll turn it over to you.
Sheriff, close us out.
Yeah.
Solve the homeless problem.
Yeah.
Unsheltered folks in our region.
If I could do that,
Here we
I'd
go.
be
Let's
retired,
hear
right?
you. Go.
Yeah, I'll just loop in a little bit on the vehicle issue. It is going to be challenging because we are attached to our vehicles here in LA County because we know there's a parking problem, right? It's just intuitive to be attached to our vehicles. It is going to be a challenge even for our own personnel to get to some of these sites and where they're going to park, and they're going to have to get used to being shuttled into their assignments for the day. Some of these venues will empty and refill 4 to 5 times a day. Imagine like Dodger Stadium, refilling into it. That's going to be a challenge. We recognize some of that. So LA28 is setting up a VAP system, or vehicle access program, and you'll have a pass if you're one of the authorized vehicles, and a lot of it will be metro-based and things of that nature that allow for people to get to venues very quickly. Some of the things, I've got to be in Paris in 23, and then I was back in Paris in 24. And wow, what a difference during how well it was organized. And we saw that with London as well. I was on the phone with London this morning. You're seeing some of the lessons learned. The IOC has got this down relatively to a T. When it comes to homeless, each city has, in fact, dealt with it differently. I was, again, watching things in 23 with Paris. I'm like, this is going to be interesting to what I saw in 24. And they did set up a site about 10 miles outside in which they encouraged the homeless to go to, and they provided resources that were above and beyond their normal, and that's how they kind of dealt with it. I was like, where'd the homeless go? And I found them. But it took me like 20 minutes to get there. That was their prerogative in dealing with it. What we deal with on our side, we recognize that each of our cities deal with it on a different challenge basis. We're now finding and seeing some of the homeless counts starting to go down in some of our cities where there's that engagement. Right. Engagement is really critical for those cities that have been delayed in engaging. Like I was the captain over in Carson, and we had a 76% decrease in homelessness in my 5 years while I was there, and part of it was the engagement piece of it, right? It's getting those vehicles off the street, allowing kids to go to school, and then, of course, the appearance of the community. But a lot of that doesn't happen if you don't engage them, and we do have the dollars coming in, and now we just need to see the benefits of those dollars. We recognize that that is a challenge on our side. For us, it is about working with our partners, whether it's at LASA or whatever not, just to make sure that we're fully engaged. We have nearly 27 different teams that deal with homeless outreach, and we're partnered with a lot of the collaborative groups, including mental health and so on and so forth. If you do have those issues, it start to impact you at your business level, we do have a teams that for our areas that we service, and even our partnership communities let us know. We will help to engage those areas prior to the Olympics as well too.
Yeah, and I'll just say, lastly, for Inglewood, I think one of the things that we've done early on in dealing with the unhoused is really spending a little bit more time interacting with them, not seeing them as migratory, because they end up being migratory, which means that if you shoo them away here, they go over there, right? So it'll just move the problem. The problem never goes away. So you have to really engage with them, and that's what we've been able to do. Matter of fact, I think we've probably placed maybe 4 or 5 of our homeless population, which seems low, but with family who didn't know where they were. You know, so those types of things, approaches, other than just trying to believe that you're going to fix that particular problem. On the transportation side, one of the things that we're experiencing right now is, as these major events happen in a city like Inglewood, we have a pretty large residential population around our venues. And going through the difficulties of how they migrate during those events. And so we've taken it, we've really paid a lot of attention to a lot of conversation that's coming from our owners and our renters in the area on how they migrate through. To your point, how do we create a system where they're easily recognizable so they can get in and out? Because even though you may have a perimeter, people who live in there are in the perimeter. So you have to consider that and what impact that's going to have on transportation movement. So we're looking at all of those things.
Let's give them a round of applause. Tracy, Conan, Chris, Jason, Jackie, thanks for joining us today. Jackie it even stayed longer and as a board meeting. Thanks for toughing it out. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm responsible for giving you your closing remarks. I think we had a remarkable day today. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. So, you know, when listening to Paul Krikorian, he took a lot of time to go over a lot of detail, if you took notes, but you saw the magnitude of revenue that's going to come into this city. You know, we have chamber representatives here, we have business owners, we have executives of business, and it's really important that you package your business now, that you don't wait. Someone told me that if you're behind in certain areas, you know, of your taxes or whatever, that they can disqualify you. So let's get ready. Let's not allow this time that we spent here today to go to waste. You were given a roadmap with links and addresses and people to contact. Use them. Let's get ready. Let's show up, Los Angeles. That's what this is all about. When Holly Mitchell gave her presentation and she talked about some of the issues, you know, that she's observed, and especially, you know, with small businesses, minority-owned businesses, let's make sure we have full participation along every socioeconomic level, ethnic, gender, it doesn't matter. Let's come to show up, let's win. Because at the end of the day, this is about building muscle memory, right? The things that we're going to do for the next 3 years are going to last us for the next 10 to 20 years. And we got to make sure that we involve our junior executives, our entry-level business workers, even our kids that we're sending to college. Let's make sure we have an intergenerational transfer of knowledge, activities, successes, so that we're around here as a business community for the next 20 years and beyond. The first panel was awesome because, you know, when you listen to what they had to say, not only was there coaching, you know, from the mayor's office on what to do and how to do it, holding ramp accountable, talk around LA 28, all these folks are stakeholders. And we are going to keep pressing to make sure that they do their part to support you doing your part. And we're here to help you. You know, we talked about the Advocacy Academy. There are things that you don't know how to do or that you're unsure about doing. We're going to help you. We're here. And that's why we did this today. And we're going to continue doing it for every year until everything is done. And then we're going to keep going. Because we are Los Angeles. We are the greater LA community. We are rock stars in our own right. We have been. We're going to keep this thing going. We have faith in you. You folks showed up today, and you stayed the whole time. Amazing, right? And so, you know, the things that we're doing as BizFed Institute is a foundation to help make sure that we provide a platform for you to do your work. From infrastructure, you know, things that we do like water resiliency. No one thinks about water until it comes out brown or doesn't come out at all, right? Transportation goods movement. We've done that for years, and we're going to keep doing it. Workforce development. We are totally invested in that. BizFed Institute was the Affinity Hub lead for California Jobs First, which Kelly LoBianco was on the steering committee, which I chaired. I was the inaugural chair. They trusted us to do that. And we put together the governance structure. We put together the bylaws. We put together the regional plans, part 1 and part 2. Over 100, well, it was a lot larger. It probably ended up about 150 million, but this is a statewide deal. I was up in San Francisco day before yesterday with Kelly, you know, 1-day flight turnaround. We are committed to this thing, and we're committed to you. So when you get your emails from us, like we have the housing and clean energy coming up, come, participate. We need you to share your information and ideas, right? We're going to get a key takeaways coming out of this event with the recording, with some of the presentation decks, and hopefully we'll get permission from everyone. But I really want to thank all the people that are here, the panelists who put up with us for the last X number of months, because people that know me know that I am insane about planning. But when you plan, you get the right people here to give the right information. You just don't get anybody to come. We get people that actually know, people that are making decisions, and they were here today. So please, please, please use this, collaborate. We've got our next event coming up on August 13th. Again, housing and clean energy. After that, you know, we're gonna do another workforce development. We're gonna probably gonna do something on how businesses, what your rights are as a business when it comes to immigration and how to deal with that, right? We're gonna talk about AI. I'm a 30-year guy from IT. College hire for Xerox. I worked for digital equipment. We were number 2 to IBM for 1 million years, Verizon, all that stuff. And then Tracy found me. And now I've been doing public policy and think tank. I left BizFed as a chief development officer, did double duty as that and president of BizFed Institute. Wife thought I was crazy. But this is so fulfilling because we get paid to do work that uplifts our regional economy. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you come from. There's stuff that we talk about that impacts everybody. And when you look around this room, this is Los Angeles. We're here. So I'm going to leave you, give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for coming. I hope to see you next time.